One of the many celebrated associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Raghava Pandit and his wife Damayanti, Raghavera Jali, because when the devotees would go every year from Bengal to Puri, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri, Raghava Pandit would bring his jalis or his bags with very, very special prasadam preparations prepared by Damayanti, and Lord Chaitanya would keep them in special place and distribute. There's this nice pastime, a loving exchange between Damayanti and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Raghava Pandit was a celebrated Vaishnav who was known to have, from time to time, big Sankirtan festivals. And that's the setting for this Panihati festival. So we'll begin because the pastime is connected intimately with Raghunath Das Goswami. Here's a nice prayer written at the end of every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita by the author, Krishna Das Kaviraj, pictured here. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. We've mentioned this already twice, and there's no harm in mentioning it more than twice. The superlative biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life was written by a devotee, Krishna Das Kaviraj, who never had Lord Chaitanya's association. But he had the association of Raghunath Das Goswami, and in the association of Raghunath Das Goswami, he heard all about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes from Raghunath Das Goswami, who directly experienced them, and Raghunath Das Goswami was able to understand the not understandable other features, the internal ecstasies of love and pastimes where no one but he, Swarup Damodar, and Ramananda Roy were with Lord Chaitanya in his evenings, going off here and going off there in otherworldly ecstasies of love of Godhead. And Swarup Damodar understood all of those. Swarup Damodar explained all of those so that Raghunath Das Goswami became well conversant in the pastimes as well as the mood of love of Radha for Krishna. And naturally, Raghunath Das, being the elevated soul that he was, had deep love like that. He became a lover of Radharani and Govardhan. Very profound. Here's the dates of the life of Raghunath Das, and here's the breakdown of his years. For 31 years, he was with his family in presumably Ramakeli, a place where his family resided. For 16 years only, he was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu intimately, and then for 45 years, he was in Vrindavan, narrating the topics that Chaitanya Charitamrita later was made up of. So it was both, or three things: his direct experience, his hearing and understanding from Swarup Damodar, and apparently, there's no specific record that I'm aware of that he, Raghunath, was given the diary of Swarup Damodar. kadachas, the diaries. So the personal associate of Mahaprabhu, he not only experienced, but he kept a diary of what those experiences were, and the diary then went to the hand of Raghunath Das, who then it got to the hand of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who then followed the thread and wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. And, we've also not met Lord Chaitanya, but we can meet at least through the writings of Krishnadas Kaviraj and others, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful exalted devotees. We can come to know the truths, the tattva about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this one is a truth about Nityananda. So back to Raghunath Das Goswami, Prabhupada writes he's best remembered he's the very emblem of renunciation. And from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from his childhood, he had no interest in anything material. No interest in imagine, what does a child do that has no interest in anything material? They get bored, right? You have any interest in anything material? But Raghunath Das, no interest. So he was very, very interested in anything transcendental, and specifically, he was particularly interested in Krishna and Radha Krishna. And when he came in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it reached its perfection. So each of the stages, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, they have their particular acharya, and Raghunath, is the acharya for the stage of spiritual perfection. He who teaches by his own example the ultimate goal of life. So he's a very special personality, a great receiver. And although he was on this super elevated platform, he followed the vidhis of sadhana bhakti strictly, the way that it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. His vidhis, his vows for regular practices of bhakti, was like that of lines in the stone. It gives the example. Even when he became very, very old, you saw his age, very old, but he had this vrata that every day he would take darshan of deities at Radhakund, and there are many deities there. He would pay 100 obeisances to deities, 200 obeisances to Vaishnavas, and chant 64 rounds every day. He was busy. Plus 3 to 4 hours every day narrating the pastimes and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And steeped in ecstatic love for Radharani and Radhakund and Govardhan, which is very evident in his writings. When he got so old, he couldn't get up after paying obeisances. So the devotees would come and lift him up, and he'd say, "You don't have to do this. You're beyond the regulative stage of bhakti." He'd smile and go to the next place and offer obeisances. Fastidious, performer of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So a little background to help us get into the Leela, the Panihati festival Leela. His family name was Majumdar, and the family guru of the Majumdar family was named Yadunandan Acharya. We'll see this image a few times. Just that means Yadunandan Acharya, by the way. And Yadunandan Acharya was a very close and intimate disciple of Advaita Acharya. And in addition, we heard a little bit yesterday about Vasudev Datta, and his mercy also went to Yadunandan Acharya. So he was a Vaishnava, a superlative Vaishnava, and the family guru. there was a time when Haridas Thakur stayed at the Majumadar's home. And when he stayed at the Majumadar's home, Raghunath Das, as a young boy, received his mercy. So he Haridas, recognized the unique, special, detached, renounced, but devotional kind of renounced, not worldly kind of renounced quality in this little boy. And it is attributed by, so where does it all begin? We've had several of these, which comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of questions. So he got mercy. So where did he get the quality that inspired Haridas Thakur's mercy? We'll have to ask Krishna about that one. But he got Haridas Thakur's mercy, and at least some of the biographers attribute that mercy of Haridas to how he ended up getting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association. But there were some intermediate steps. So Balaram Acharya was a disciple of Yadunandana Acharya, and both, one was the family priest and the other was the family guru for the Majumdar family. And they played a very important role in his childhood. So here's a nice little image of getting Haridas Thakur's mercy directly to Raghunath Das Goswami, or Raghunath Das at that time. From the mercy of Haridas, he had the opportunity to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu twice. And the first time was when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was planning to take sannyas, and after he had accepted sannyas, he went to pay a visit to Advaita Acharya in Shantipur. And this is where, at Shantipur, the arrangement was made whereby Mother Sachi was brought to see her son after he had accepted sannyas, and she cried and she requested him, please don't go to Vrindavan, please go to Puri. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Shantipur. And when he was in Shantipur, Raghunath Das, because of the connection with his guru and the guru of his the guru of his guru or family guru, he went to Shantipur. And when he was in Shantipur, Advaita Acharya made sure that the little boy got some of the remnants of Mahaprasadam from the plate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For some number of days, this went on. Then he went back home. At 19, they met for the second time. And the second time, the occasion was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had now accepted sannyas, and he went all the way. He was planning to go to Vrindavan, but made a little detour. I'm making a hand motion. And so Puri is over here, Vrindavan is over here, and he went to Ramakeli. And he went to Ramakeli to give association to Rupa and Sanatan, because there had been some correspondence between the two. So he wanted to liberate them. So Mahaprabhu went to visit them at Ramakeli. And after that, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going back towards Puri, and he stopped in Shantipur. And when he stopped in Shantipur, that was when Raghunath Das had his second meeting with him. And at that second meeting, Raghunath Das was pleading with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let me go with you, I want your association. And Mahaprabhu said, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, calm yourself and return home. Don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. Don't make a show of monkey renunciation, market of vairagya, simply for other people's benefit. Enjoy the worldly life in a moderate way without attachment. Be fixed on Krishna internally while externally dealing with the world in the appropriate fashion. It will not be long before Krishna delivers you. It's a nice instruction, the little incubation chamber. Live as if you're attached, but don't be attached. That's easier said than done, but that was the advice. Be patient. Inwardly cultivate Krishna bhakti, while externally you're living your life as if you're with the people you're living your life. So that was an instruction, a very explicit instruction. So he went back home, and as you may know, the family that he was born in, the Majumdar family, were fabulously wealthy, like super wealthy. Think of a wealthy family, the Rockefeller family or something. And he was in that family, and he was the only son. So he was due to receive the wealth of that family. So the family was grooming him to take over their service. And their service was, they were, they're assisting the Turkish Muslim ruler, the Chaduri, who was underneath the king or the Shah. And the Chaduri was supposed to accept taxes, but the Majumdar family received the money directly and cut out the Chaduri. And somehow they became wealthy. You could figure it out how they became wealthy. So the Chaduri was like upset, more than upset. He became an enemy of the Majumdar family. So one time, the Chaduri came right to Majumdar's family's home. His father and his uncle were out of station. So Raghunath Das had to face this angry fellow who felt he was being cheated for money that he deserved because he wanted that wealth. You know how it is. So there's details and details, but Raghunath Das he exhibited the smarts, the savvy, the understanding of how to navigate through dangerous territory. When, Turkish Chaduri's got weapons and power, and someone can just disappear in the dark of night and you'll never be seen again. But he dealt with him in such a way that the Chaduri became very affectionate. He spoke so nicely. You are like my uncle, and and nice talk, nice words, sweet words, and I'll make some arrangements. So some arrangement was made, and the Chaduri left happy instead of ready to take revenge. In this way, it's a nice example by the author Krishnadas Kaviraj to indicate he. It's not like he was a loser. He was just not interested in worldly affairs. He knew how to do worldly affairs in very delicate situations and completely melt the heart of the person who was the angry fellow, the Chaduri. But he wasn't interested. So he followed Mahaprabhu's recommendation. And then there's another section that says he still, the young, now married Raghunath Das, he didn't want marriage. He didn't want the wealth of the family. He didn't want any of this way of life. He didn't want to inherit all their mega millions, and he had no interest. So he kept trying to sneak away. And every time he tried to sneak away, we discussed this a little bit yesterday, his father and uncle, they had guards, and the guards would go and find him and bring him back. And finally, the wife or the mother said to her husband, tie him up. then he won't be able to go anywhere. And then the father said to the wife, what's tying up going to do? He's already tied up. He has as much wealth as Indra, the king of the gods, and his wife is as beautiful as heavenly courtesans. If these things have not been able to capture his spirit, then how will mere ropes be able to do so? The father who has given life to a child cannot interfere with the effects of his previous life's actions. Sri Chaitanya Chandra has given his blessings to this boy who can keep prisoner one who has been made mad by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His father threw his hands up in the air. So, he would try to run away and they'd catch him and things like that. Then a situation arose. The very next day from this exchange with his mother and father, word came that there was a big festival at the home of Raghava Pandit in Panihati. We mentioned Raghava Pandit, very exalted devotee. And Nityananda was visiting. The occasion was a big Sankirtan festival. And so Raghunath Das thought, I haven't been able this way, that way, the other way on my own cleverness to get away. That's because I haven't gotten the mercy of Lord Nityananda, because by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, how am I going to be able to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? I want the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So he went to Panihati. And when he went to Panihati, because he was very humble, he saw Lord Nityananda seated in the midst of all the devotees by the side of the river Ganges, and he paid his obeisances. And Lord Nityananda, the clever Nityananda, spoke words as if it was a criticism. You, like a thief, you don't come near me, but simply try to run away. Now I have caught you. I shall punish you. I want you to feed all my followers chipped rice and yogurt. Sponsor the Sunday feast. Punishment. It's not punishment. But I'm going to punish you. And so immediately hearing this, he's still at a distance. He went and made arrangements because he had wealth. And with his wealth, he made this arrangement of two kinds: chipped rice with condensed milk, chipped rice with yogurt, and big containers, barrels, who knows what it was. And they mixed it up together, offered it to Krishna, and began distributing the Mahaprasad to all the devotees. And as they were engaged in this activity of distributing the Mahaprasadam, everyone was eating up to the neck, as it says. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And from the plates of the Vaishnavas, they would take some from the plates of the Vaishnavas and stick some of that in the mouth of the other, Lord Nityananda in Lord Chaitanya's mouth and vice versa. And they were having fun, very playfully exchanging with one another in this way. And as time passed, then kirtan began. So they soaked the chipped rice in you see these clay pots, and they soaked everything in the Ganges water, and then the kirtan began. And when the kirtan began, we heard this already, but wherever the kirtan and the chanting of the holy name is done, where Lord Nityananda is dancing, Lord Chaitanya will come. So Lord Chaitanya came, and everyone could see. And in this midst of all this wonderful festival, then he tried again one more time. That this time he sent forward Raghava Pandit. This painting shows he came forward. You see there by the side of the Ganges. There's some boats over there, and there's a lot of people by the side of the Ganges. with pineapples and grapes and, everything. So Lord Nityananda is hearing the appeal of Raghunath Das. Actually, the appeal was through Raghava Pandit. Here's his appeal. I'm the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen, and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain the shelter at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I've tried my best many times, but I've never been successful. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, please be especially merciful toward me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a nice appeal. And Lord Nityananda then called him forward and placed his foot on his head and replied, this is just saying what he did. So Lord Chaitanya is present. He came at least for the kirtan and for the distribution of the prasadam. And here's Nityananda's reply. You arranged this feast on the banks of the river, and Mahaprabhu was merciful to you and came here himself to enjoy it. He blessed you by accepting the offering of chipped rice and yogurt. Then, after watching the devotees dancing, he took prasad in the evening. Lord Gauranga came here just to deliver you, and now he has removed any impediments which remained. He will turn you over to Sarup Damodar, and making you his confidential servant, he will keep you by his side. Go home now and forget your worries. You will soon be able to go to the Lord without any difficulties. He was really happy. That's what he wanted to hear. And the word of Nityananda was gold. So he, being the wealthy son of the Majumdar family, he gave a substantial dakshin to the senior Vaishnavas, starting with Lord Nityananda, and he went back home peacefully, or at least almost peacefully. And then, because he knew he had that reassurance, then comes another twist. The other twist was he told a lie, or put it a little milder, he tricked Yadunandan Acharya. And the circumstance, it was involved with the deity worship, because Yadunandan Acharya was the guru, and he was looking after the family deity. So one day, just before dawn, Yadunandan Acharya came to the house. Raghunath, when he came back to his home, he didn't stay in his home. He stayed in the mandap, which is like a canopy area, and he stayed just outside the house, like detached from family life, sleeping on the Durga mandap. So Yadunandan Acharya was taking the help from Raghunath. I need your help. I have a disciple who was performing the puja of the deity, but he abandoned his service, and I don't have a replacement. So can you help me persuade him, convince him to take up this service again until there's a replacement? Before dawn. And so Raghunath agreed. He went with his spiritual master, the family guru, and the guards were sound asleep. And as they were walking, Raghunath Das made the suggestion to Yadunandan Acharya, I'll take care of this. He's already shown his competence and expertise in dealing with worldly things. So I'll take care of it. You can go back. So Yadunandan Acharya took him at his word. And it's, to get the pujari to take care of the deity didn't happen. Raghunath saw, this is a fantastic opportunity. I can take off and nobody's going to see me. No one's going to know Yadunandan Acharya. And He went, the detail is there were paths. It took him 12 days by foot, but he didn't go through the main roads because his father knew the main roads and his father was sent guards and he would have been back and home. So he went through the jungle. Didn't bring his toothbrush. He just took off for 12 days. And when he traveled and traveled and traveled and traveled and traveled, and finally at the end of the day, he was some miles away through the jungle, and he was very tired and he took rest. When he woke up in the morning, a cowherd man found him and saw this scrawny, he didn't know who he was, person, and understood that he had been fasting. So he gave him some milk because he's a cowherd man. He gave him some milk, and this way he sustained his life for 12 days. Now there's other details of how his father and uncle were searching for him this way, that way, and to no avail. And he made it all the way to Puri. Now here's a little chart showing, the trickery is at the top. And sometimes Vaishyas will, serve for you and make no profit. Won't go into it too much. But they make profit. That's how they sustain themselves. But they may say, it's a little Prabhupadism. He knew that merchants were cheaters. There's a nice description when Prabhupada was visiting in Mayapur. The devotees were walking from the construction site of the temple towards the Jalangi. And as they were walking towards the Jalangi, there was a village man with a basket on his head, and in the basket, there was some kind of vegetable. Forget what the vegetable was, cucumbers or something. And Prabhupada went straight to the Bengali and started discussing with him in Bengali. And then he was negotiating the price. And then the man accepted 20 rupees from Prabhupada for the whole basket worth of whatever it was, okras or something. And then the devotees were asked to take this back to the devotee kitchen. And then, merchants are always going to take ill advantage of devotees. Devotees are foolish. So he was doing the negotiation to get the fair price. Something, but fair price. Prabhupada was keen on that. And there's many stories like that. When the Western disciples would come, the price would go triple. And then they say, for you are making no profit. Anyway, Vaishyas have that kind of talk. So sometimes Vaishyas do tricky things. The Brahmanas, they're very straightforward. But, sometimes Brahmanas, due to circumstance, they may say something. Vaishnavas, because they want to please Krishna, they don't do that. They're very straightforward. And then comes Shuddha Bhaktas. But I'm going to give an example or two of how even Shuddha Bhaktas, great, great, great personalities, engaged in trickery. And then there's the eternal pastimes, or the eternal associates of Krishna in his pastimes, and they would do funny things sometimes. So at different levels, the point is, there's trickery, but then there's transcendental trickery. And the transcendental trickery is, if you're not a transcendentalist, you can't, you're in trouble if you try to imitate a transcendentalist and do a trickery. You'll end up getting mud in your face. Here's a nice example. I'm going to skip this. There's an example in the building of the Ranganath temple. One of the alvars of the Sri Sampradaya visited Ranganath. Ranganath is the name of the deity, and there was no nice altar or temple place for the deity. So he and his principal associates tried going door to door. This is in South India, long ago, and he's already this very elevated person, but they weren't forthcoming. It's a very honest, straightforward attempt. And so he used trickery. And here's a little bit of the trickery. Tirumangai, one of the principal acharyas or alvars of the sampradaya, he had 4 principal disciples. And previously they were mystic persons that had now become devotees. So one of the devotees would entangle materialists in the net of argument. He'd stand and they would argue and get distracted by the argument. While they were arguing, there was a second disciple, and he would open the door of the treasury house. And then the third disciple he was able to stand on the shadow of the person so the person couldn't move. And the fourth disciple, he entered palaces that were surrounded by deep moats and plundered the wealth. So they were plunderers under the order of Tirumangai. And with all the wealth they accumulated, they built a nice temple, more than a nice temple. So there's the nice temple. With architecture and expense that, who would be able to come up with all of this? But, that's what he did. And the temple is fantastic, with domes and, everything done perfectly, but from trickery. Because people, a straightforward answer, people wouldn't give. So he did it the other way for Krishna. And he had the virtue and the capacity to know how to accomplish all of this. So multi-storied buildings with fantastic colors and architecture, etc., carvings. I mean, to do something like this today would be impossible. Financially impossible, and also by art skills impossible. But there's some idea of what he was able to accomplish by trickery. And here's another one of the halls, etc. So if you're Tirumangai, then you're authorized. And if you're not, don't imitate.
How many hundreds of years ago was that temple?
I don't know the number, but it wouldn't be difficult to research it. Some of you that know how to research stuff through your phone, Mr. iPhone knows everything, so check it out. Do you know how to do it? Yeah, somebody here knows how to do it. In the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, this is the eternal associates of Krishna. They would also engage in trickery. One of those trickery items was the stealing of Krishna's flute. And the stealing of Krishna's flute is narrated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So we know that it's authorized. And here's Rupa Goswami's writing. One day, Radha told Krishna, "You are the very treasure of my existence, but your flute has robbed us of all our virtues, our chastity, our religiosity, and our observance of social etiquette. Indeed, this morality has ruined our lives. If I ever get the chance, I'll grab that flute and throw it in the Jamuna, and you'll never see it again." Now, whether she said that or it's just some writing, always remembering Radharani's threat, Krishna would hide his flute under his cloth when he would fall asleep in a kunj. But one time, Radha got her chance. She approached Madhava stealthily like a cat, taking care that her ankle bells did not tinkle. She slid her golden bangles up her arms lest they jangle, and keeping her eyes on his in fear that he might wake up, she slyly stole the flute from his lap. Thief. Transcendental. Definitely transcendental. And then there's a whole other pastime of Krishna searching for his flute, and there's details and details and lovely details of Krishna searching for his flute. And they denied, they didn't know anything about it until the flute fell out. And then he knew that they were lying, and he grabbed his flute. And it's like loving exchange, loving exchange. There's Radharani stealing his flute. So when Raghunath Das Goswami reached Puri, Lord Chaitanya immediately recognized him, immediately embraced him, and gave him instructions. One of those instructions was, while you're here in Puri, you take residence, you take shelter of Swarup Damodar, because at that time there was more than one Raghunath. So to distinguish, you're the Raghu of Swarup. That's how he was known. And here's his instructions. Same externally, internally. Do not listen to gossip, nor engage in gossip yourself. You should not eat very palatable food. No problem for Raghunath Das. Nor should you dress very nicely. No problem for Raghunath Das. Always chant the holy name of the Lord Krishna, without any expectation of honor. Sound familiar? Amanida Manadena. Without mentally render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So internal cultivation is Raga Bhakti. Their first instruction. And so that's what he did. And he lived like that under the care of Swarup Damodar. Sometime after, there was a devotee that was a resident of Puri, and he made a pilgrimage to Vrindavan. And when he came back from Vrindavan, he brought a gift for Lord Chaitanya. 2 gifts. They're shown in this painting here, or this photograph. So one is the Shila of Govardhan, and another is a string of gunja berries. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 3 years personally worshipped the Shila. You can see his thumbprint is described that he would hold, kind of an extraordinary way of worshipping Govardhan. He kept Govardhan by his heart. He kept Govardhan by his eyes. He would cry profusely in ecstatic love. He would massage the deity with his thumb, and that's the thumbprint, rubbing it back and forth so many times. And for 3 years, he worshipped Govardhan in that spontaneous way. And then he gifted both the berries and the Shila of Govardhan to Raghunath Das. That's how intimate was Raghunath Das with Lord Chaitanya, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Of course, his own qualification of love. And with that, Raghunath Das understood not only, something that's very dear to Lord Chaitanya's heart, he's given to me, so I'm dear to his heart, but he's granting me residence in Vrindavan. Granting me residence at Govardhan. And so when that day came, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ended his pastimes, Raghunath Das, who was completely attached to Lord Chaitanya, was smashed. And he was beside himself with grief. He was unable to maintain his life. So he decided, let me give up my life. I'll go to Govardhan, take the association of Rupa and Sanatan, and go to Govardhan Hill, jump off Govardhan Hill, and end my life. His mood was very melancholy, to say the least. So when he reached Vrindavan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa and Sanatan understood his mood. And so he didn't disclose, this is my intention, but they understood it. But because his mood was so strong, and they forbid him. It's a nice exchange. they said, essentially, we've been assigned service here in Vrindavan by Lord Chaitanya, and for all those years, we didn't have his association because we've been serving in separation. But you were serving in his personal association by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And so you know the details and details and details and details and details. You can't give up your life. You have to narrate those details. You stay. And your service to the Vaishnavas is that every day under this tree over here by Radhakund, you recite the pastimes and the teachings and the mood and everything that you learned from Srup Damodar to all the Vaishnavas. So for 49 years, that's what he did. That's a long Bhagavatam class. And in the audience, there were several in the audience, but one of them was Krishnadas Kaviraj. How elevated was that katha? And so, for the rest of his life, that's what he did. And by the end of Raghunath Das's life, Krishnadas Kaviraj was filled, because before he moving to Vrindavan, he was already a poet, a kavi, a learned person. And he was very gifted at writing. He could express things in very skilled ways. So all the Vaishnavas said, please preserve this for future generations, like, all those devotees are going to go and live in Alachua sometime, Please compose this literature for their benefit, for the posterity, because you received, you please put it in a written form. And we know he didn't feel himself competent, capable. So he, I think going ahead, he sought the blessings of the Vaishnavas, and he got the blessings of Madan Mohan and the Vaishnavas, and he then lived to a very old age. His hands were trembling. It's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He didn't know if he was going to finish, but he finished. So we have now, by the mercy of Nityananda, who mercifully gave Raghunath Das the association of Lord Chaitanya, and etc., 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 we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the circle closes with the mercy of Lord Nityananda is what we're receiving, remotely, but then even prior, chronologically at least prior, is the mercy of Haridas Thakur. So those that receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who gave the mercy to Raghunath Das Goswami, who gave it to us in this form. So that's the Panihati festival. And it's connected to the topic from yesterday, which was the Guru Tattva topic. So how did Lord Nityananda, who's the original Adi Guru, the original spiritual master of everything, of the whole universe, manifest that Guru Tattva power or potency in ways that touch our lives? So it certainly touched the life of Raghunath Das. And that's touching our lives. Mercy of Lord Nityananda comes to us in many ways. That's one of the many ways. What's that sound? Is that your phone? No? Okay. So, Alachua Vaishnavas, any discussion? Ragatmika? I see your hand I have to look back there. You always have your hand up. Can we turn the overhead light on?
Thank you, Maharaj. First of all, how many years did Krishnadas Kaviraj write the Chaitanya Charitamrita?
I don't know.
Oh, and how old was he?
There's some idea of how old he was. He was over 100 years old.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Feeble, his hands shaking, but serving. So your question was how long did it take him to write Chaitanya Charitamrita? Long time.
And he wrote it under the, blessings of Madan Mohan
Yeah,
in Vrindavan.
yeah.
Isn't Madan Mohan the deity of Sambandha?
Sanatana Goswami, yes, yes.
But Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate.
It's okay.
Okay.
His postgraduate has the elementary too.
Okay. And earlier you made a distinction between spiritual renunciation and material renunciation. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. Rupa Goswami expands on that. The material or artificial is that which is in relation to Krishna, you give it up. Hari sambandhu vastuna. And that's palgu vairagya. You give that up. It's in relation to Krishna, but I'm attached, so I give it up. And then the complete or spiritual is that which is in relation to Krishna, you use it in Krishna's service. That's complete, that's spiritual. Simple. I mean, conceptually simple, then doing is another thing. Yeah.
It's like the freedom to.
Yeah, that's another way of saying. Yeah. But the principle of renunciation, what do you give up? Yes, our brahmachari in the back.
It will.
I had a question on a different topic.
Is it relation to what we discussed today?
Today, yes.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. I was very much intrigued by Lord Chaitanya's instruction.
Adjust the volume. Go ahead.
Calm yourself and return home. Don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. Don't make a show of monkey renunciation, simply for other people's benefit. Enjoy the worldly life in a moderate way without attachment. Be fixed on Krishna internally while externally dealing with the world in the appropriate fashion. It will not be long before Krishna delivers you.
Well, you got it.
So I was wondering, is this instruction like very general for everyone?
Yeah.
Or
It's a little different for brahmacharis because he wasn't a brahmachari. But, most of it is externally is one thing and internally is another thing. So as appropriate for a brahmachari is different than as appropriate for a young grahastha. But as appropriate, that part. But, don't conduct yourself externally as appropriate for your ashram and your situation, and inwardly cultivate affinity for Krishna and Radha Krishna and residing in Vrindavan. It's Raga Bhakti, or an important element.
I had a little bit of another part of the question too. Thank you. He says, don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. So I was kind of wondering, how do we, because sometimes it's like a great urgency to cross the ocean.
Yeah, Utsahan Nishchayad Daryat.
Mm-hmm.
You know the verse?
Yeah, tat karma.
Yeah, okay, but that's the first three. The urgency is Utsahan. And then Utsahan, when there isn't, how are you to do that Utsahan? Be patient. So that means sustained enthusiasm. And what sustains the enthusiasm? Confidence. It's going to get me there. It's simple. Rupa Goswami gave us a really nice map, a road map, and just like how to get there. It's a super GPS. Just know the destination. That's the important part. Have a good GPS. Have Rupa Goswami in your heart, or the teachings of Rupa Goswami in your heart, and know the destination. You'll get there. Be patient. With enthusiasm, be patient. Don't let your enthusiasm wane. Stay enthusiastic.
Thank you.
Over the corner. Over the corner. Yeah, I can hear you without the microphone.
Yes.
But use the microphone because there's some people online. They may not be able to
You know
hear
that
you.
temple that you show, is it made of trickery?
Maybe what?
Made of trickery?
The temple that you showed.
Made of what?
Chickadee.
The temple wasn't made of kitchery.
Trickery. Trick.
Right. Oh, trickery. Oh. Yeah, it was trickery. Transcendental trickery. So now what's your question?
So, what part of India that temple?
South India.
In South India.
South India. You haven't seen the place, right? One day.
Go there.
Yeah.
One of my bucket lists.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a parenting question.
Can you do what?
Parenting question?
No, it's not on topic.
No, but it's Raghunath Das Goswami is related. Like when I reflect on his situation, I feel like I'm in a kind of opposite situation
Which is?
where his parents were wealthy. I feel I am not wealthy, but we want our kids to go to spiritual path, and sometimes they take material path. We're trying to bring them back, but there are soldiers of social media and a lot of things that pulls them back towards material.
You want a violin? So,
Miss, just wanted to get your thoughts on, is it force or
is it what?
is it like through force or to let them
No,
pick
you know the
what they want to
answer.
do?
You know the answer. You don't need me to give you the. Is it? Can I force them? You know what'll happen. The opposite will happen. You get pushback and you get resentment. Don't do that.
So just let them pick.
Not you. This is a parenting topic. This isn't a Raghunath Das Goswami thing. Nice try. No, there are ways to answer that, but it's another topic and it's another venue, and it's I'd rather something that I learned. I'll share something with you. In the year 2010, I went to China. I went to China because at that time I was a member of the GBC, and somehow I became the chairman of the GBC. And I didn't know there's no job description what you're supposed to do when you're the chairman of the GBC. So I asked Rabindra Swarup Prabhu, who I regarded as being a very intelligent, very gifted person. He wasn't like the best administrator, but he was very intelligent. So I asked him, what are you supposed to do? And then he said, get a globe, spin the globe, and find something that's on the globe that you feel is important, and you go there and do that. That was his advice. Very, very short, So I tried it, and I spun the globe, and China was. Tamal Krishna Maharaj had departed. Giridhari Swami's health was a wreck, so he was unable to perform as a GBC. And the other, Chandrasekhar Prabhu, was blacklisted. He couldn't get into the country. So there's, a major piece of land with major number of people in the world in China, without someone giving direction and guidance, etc. Remotely, because they had ways of doing. Chandrasekhar could do it remotely, but it wasn't the same. So I got a visitor's visa and went to China. And since then, I've been involved in the devotees in China. And so without all the details, there's a system for mainland China. They have what they call Voice of Vaikuntha, which is a Zoom link, and it's for the all China. They have devotees come from, or speak from different parts of the world. Chandrasekhara calls the overseas devotees. We're overseas devotees for them, and give classes, and so forth and so on. So my experience with those classes is like this. They ask something that's important to them, but it's completely off topic, which is nice, but it's not nice so I have one of my flashcards is this one. Prabhupada said, when people would ask off-topic questions, he'd ask them, "Is this on topic?" And they say no. Then he said that what we just spent a half hour, 45 minutes discussing will be lost if we go to off-topic questions. So you just put it to the side or put it in the parking lot, and let's stay on topic. So parenting questions are important. But this isn't the right forum for that question. I'm sure this is Alachua. I'm sure you got lots of people that have these types of discussions and how to deal with circumstance like you're bringing up. Pran, you had your hand up before I saw your hand. I'm saving you the best for last. This is the cherry on top of the ice cream on top of the cake.
Can I ask two questions?
You got the microphone. On topic, yes.
I remember Giriraj Maharaj is narrating a story that he told to Prabhupada that when he heard about Raghunath Das Goswami's life, he felt he wanted to go to Vrindavan and just visit all the temples and have a wonderful spiritual journey the rest of his life. And then Prabhupada told him that, do you know Raghunath Das Goswami's early life? You first do that, then you go to Vrindavan. So then Prabhupada narrated to him how Raghunath Das Goswami had to go to jail because his father and uncle was absent, hiding from paying the tax or hiding money that's supposed to be going to Chaudhary. So that time they arrested him and he was in jail. Of course, they could not beat him because he was so loving, innocent face. And every time the constable comes to hit him, some or other could not do it because he's so innocent looking and such a joyful personality. They could not. So at the end, he revealed them that by hurting me is not going to help. You are like my uncle, and you're like you can talk to my father and uncle, then settle the things you need. By punishing me, you're not going to get. So some or other he got released. So Prabhupada narrated that go through the struggle in ISKCON, and when time comes,
go to jail, right?
for ISKCON, and then when time comes, you can go roam around.
Just yesterday, I was with Brahmatirtha, and Brahmatirtha was sharing his recent communication with Brajabihari. Was in a car with Giriraj Swami, and they were in Bombay. And in the course of this exchange with Giriraj Swami and Brajabihari, they called him on his mobile phone and WhatsApp, and you can do those international calls. He said that's what he's doing. Giriraj has no worries of management. He spends much of his time in Prabhupada's quarters in Juhu, and he's sitting there, meditating on the guiding light of his life, Srila Prabhupada, and his relationship with him, and how intimate he had in his dealings with Prabhupada. So he's very happy. He followed Prabhupada's advice. He went to the school of hard knocks, and now he's out of jail.
Retired.
Huh?
Retired now.
Yeah. He's tired and retired, both. Yeah. But very elevated personality. He's writing another book.
Oh, wow.
It's slow, but he's writing another book. Boston. I was interviewed because I was in Boston for some time. Second,
I was wondering whether the ant should be sweet, but it is not sweet. So I'm just contemplating, should I say it or not say it?
okay, give it to Adikarta. He'll make it sweet.
I have a question. So Raghunath Das, he lived in Radhakund for many years.
Yes.
And in the Nectar of Instruction, towards the end, it talks about Radhakund. And Prabhupada says 2 or 3 times that one should go and live in Radhakund. I read it the other day. So I was wondering, at the same time, Prabhupada, there was that back to Richard who lived in Radhakund. Remember him? He's an American. He went to live in Radhakund. Prabhupada was very dismissive of him. But, seeing as Prabhupada mentioned it in his writings, but he didn't himself follow that example. But how would you say that, seeing as Prabhupada, that he's saying we should go live in Radhakund?
Well, it was refer back to this Prabhupada's instruction to Giriraj Maharaj. First, be qualified. And how to become qualified? Go to the school of hard knocks. Go experience the purification. Somebody else was telling me, I know who said somebody else was. Somebody else was telling me recently, today, in fact, that they went to a place of pilgrimage without mentioning the name because it'll disclose who the person is. And for the first while they were there, they were just washing pots. And that's what I did for the first month living in the Boston Temple. I mean, that was my interview with Giriraj. From a career in medicine to washing pots in the Hare Krishna Temple for a month.
How did you like?
I internally I complained a lot, but on the other end, I understood why. So let's go back to your question. First, become qualified, and the qualified may be whatever it may be, but so it's an instruction. But it may take some time to qualify oneself to fulfill that instruction. And, as you pointed out, Prabhupada didn't do that himself.
Do you think that's what he really wanted us to do, though? I don't think so.
That's your question?
Yeah.
Well, to become qualified.
No, but I mean, even if you're qualified, he
wanted us to preach. Right. He wanted us to preach. There's no hesitation. She wants to add something, but let me just finish replying. You're next. He's last, but you're after him, after Adikarta. So,
by the way, I'm not thinking of going to live in Radhakund. I'm
Yeah,
just
you're not.
wondering what you-
You're not on a soapbox saying everyone go to Radhakund. I understand that, but your question is one of the questions. Is that really what Prabhupada wanted us to do? He wanted us to be qualified, and if you can't, he wanted us to preach to the end of our life. Preach, and how long that is, we'll find out how long it is. Until that bell rings, we have the energy and capacity. You extend, you receive, and you give. That's what he wanted us to do.
But Raghunath, anyway, he was writing those books, got up his money.
Yeah, he was in a special category, wasn't he? He was a Raga Bhakta, and writing books and how to live a life of Raga Bhakti while you're doing what you're doing. Living in Alachua, or whatever's going on. You can live internally with Krishna, and you cultivate it over time, and cultivate it over time, and cultivate it over time, and it becomes your internal life. If you do that, every day, like anything you do with practice, it becomes your life. So he wanted us to have that internal affinity, and externally that we engage in as Lord Chaitanya's servants. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I've read quite lengthy, and I would like to synopsize. Radhakund Dasi, Yashomatina's wife, who has been a book distributor in Vrindavan for decades. You know who I mean?
No.
Oh, she's our god sister, Radhakund. She's distributing books for...
I believe you, but
Okay,
you want to know,
okay.
do I know the person? The answer is I don't know the person.
Okay, I thought you would, because she was so many times distributing in Vrindavan. But anyway, she wrote about how after distributing Prabhupada's books for seriously decades, many times in Vrindavan, at some point she was advised to go to Radhakund. And for a little while, she did. And then she had a dream about Srila Prabhupada. And in the dream, he took her to the deepest part of Radhakund and showed her a table with all of his books on it. Yeah, it was very vivid. I'm sorry. I mean, it was like a whole page long. I'm putting it in a couple sentences. But he was basically telling her, please keep distributing my books. This is how you will attain Radhakund.
Okay. No, certain people can have that aptitude, and other people have another aptitude, and here you go. Here's the microphone. Question number 2. Make it sweet.
Just the conclusion of these topics. There's this Madhulila 7.128-129. I'll just recite the verse. Kobuna badive tumai bishay taranga punarapi eitai pave mor sanga. If you practice and preach these two things, then Mahaprabhu told that at the moment of your end of this life journey, you'll meet me again. So I'm putting together with Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur's famous verse, Jatha jada gaura padara binde binde to bhakti krita punna rasi tatha tata sarpati ridi akasmat radha padambuja sudhambu rasi. If one under Guru's guidance doing sincere service, then he will obtain the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu is non-difference from Radha Krishna, will see his maturity and he will take him to Vrindavan and reveal himself. All of a sudden he will see deep attraction to Srimati Radharani in his heart. It's similar to Srila Prabhupada's purport here. I'm just, if you allow me, I can read it very quick. This is in 7.29, 129. This is an opportunity for everyone. If one simply follows the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu under the guidance of his representative and chant the Hare Krishna mantra, teaching everyone as far as possible the same principle, the contamination of the materialistic way of life will not even touch him. It does not matter whether one lives in a holy place like Vrindavan, Radhakund, Navadvip, or Jagannath Puri, or in the midst of European cities where the materialistic way of life is very prominent. If a devotee follows this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lives in the company of the Lord. Wherever he lives, he converts that place into Vrindavan and Navadvip. This means that materialism cannot touch him. This is the secret of success for one advancing in Krishna consciousness.
I think that's a nice way to end. Shall we end? Srila Prabhupada ki. Or